So let's stay at quarterback, but switch programs, Chad. Mississippi State, Dak Prescott, nobody wouldn't confuse him with the best player in the conference, but considering position, maybe he's the biggest loss for any team in the SEC coming into 2016.
Yeah, I think if you're going to look at, as you alluded to there as your last statement, I mean, if you want to look at the impact of a loss for a team, you got to look at Dak Prescott and Mississippi State. It's going to be huge. That being said, I will say this. I've seen Fitzgerald in person. I've been to some of it. I got to cover their spring a couple seasons ago when he was a freshman. This kid's the real deal, man. He's got all of the the immeasurables that you want out of a quarterback. I mean, and the measurables. He's tall. He's a thick, guy. He's got the arm. He's got a cannon. I watched him do 130, 40 yards on a rope, man. It was impressive as a freshman. So this guy's got all the tools. It's just a matter is the offensive line there? Are the parts around him that he's going to need to be successful on offense there? Wide receiver, running back. The running back position was not that stellar this last year. It was mediocre to say the least. But Dak Prescott helped that because you were able to use his legs if you needed to. Defensively, man, can the Bulldogs be tougher against the run? That's going to be your biggest issue. You lose Chris Jones, who, by the way, had probably the worst wardrobe malfunction at the Underwear Olympics in the Combine. So that being said, I mean, you've got to, you got to look. You got a big guy to replace. I mean, this guy's going pro. That's a lot. One of the first few five-star guys that I've seen as a freshman come in and actually play as a five-star. And that says a lot about him. Still, you got seniors. You got 6 senior linemen that are expected to be coming back this next year. You're going to see some time. Linebacker, oh, man, it should be good. You're going to look at Jerry Green. It's going to be a guy, redshirt freshman. Leo Lewis is coming in. Leo Lewis was highly touted coming out of high school. I can't really express how highly touted he was. A lot of people wanted his services coming out of high school. So that's going to be big. It's just going to be a lot of measure. Can this defense take a step forward? The defense is going to be leaned on a lot more, I think, this season to try to help win some games because this offense, there's going to be a lot of new pieces, a lot of new moving pieces on the offense for Mississippi State. But I do think Nick Fitzgerald is a guy that can get the job done if need be. I'm just curious about the pieces around him and how that's going to come out.
So it sounds like you're penciling in Fitzgerald over Elijah Staley and Damian Williams, interestingly enough. That's a guy as a freshman that we saw get into some games, won a game in overtime against Arkansas and played some substantial time as Dak Prescott was just beginning taking over the job at that point with Russell in the mix. The running back position, they need to find that guy. It was Josh Robinson a couple years ago, Ladarius Perkins before that. Man, you mentioned Prescott taking over the running game, and they can't have that again this year because they don't have him where he's out rushing the top 2 running backs. And maybe Ashton Shumpert can finally live up to his potential and what we've expected of him over the last few years. So David, the Bulldogs are a team that played a soft non-conference, did pretty much what we expected them to do in the SEC at 4-4, then completely outclassed NC State in the Belk Bowl.
Right, and I'll go back to the running game. They ranked 12th in the SEC, and you mentioned Prescott led the way, and that was with only 588 yards. Holloway was the top running back with only 413 yards. So you're right, they've got to get that position figured out, especially with whoever it is at quarterback. I probably will lean towards Fitzgerald as well, but don't count out Damian Williams. But yeah, the offense is going to be retooled. Mullen's got a track record, of figuring that out, but he had Tebow at Florida and Prescott at Mississippi State, which are arguably both programs' best quarterbacks ever. So can he find if he has a subpar quarterback, can he still get the job done with the pieces that he has? And Chad said they're going to have to rely on that defense. That's true, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, they were replacing every defensive coach on that staff. They're bringing in an NFL linebacker coach, former NFL linebacker, Peter Sirmon. He's coming to Starkville. He spent some time at Southern Cal. He was the interim defensive coordinator there. So I don't think he has a lot of experience coming in. But, with them replacing every coordinator and assistant coach on the defensive side of the ball and all the questions they have on offense, this may be a tough season coming up for Mississippi State.
Yeah, interesting story with Dan Mullen and Peter Sirmon, and them having no coaching ties before this, and just basically having a long, long conversation, and Mullen really stapling him to the wall in regards to philosophy, theory, how you coach kids, and him winning the job just based on a long, long, like day-long conversation with Dan Mullen. Will Redmond, we talk about secondaries and we throw out LSU and Florida. Georgia's in the mix, but this Mississippi State secondary's been serious over the last couple of years, but no Will Redmond this year on that side of the ball. Beniquez Brown also going to be missed. Mike, your thoughts about the Bulldogs?
Yeah, I think Mississippi State, continuing the theme of quarterback uncertainty with defensive coaching changes. The good news for Mississippi State is I think they got 8 guys coming back on offense and 8 guys coming back on defense. The bad news is the guys that aren't coming back were the best players, Robinson and Prescott on offense, and then some of the guys we've talked about on defense. Look, I'm a big fan of Dan Mullen. I think he is a great coach. But this is what he's going to face every year, Mississippi State. Mississippi State is the one team in the West that has the lowest program ceiling. I think all the other 6 teams in the West can all be a national power year in and year out if they build the program that way. Alabama's been there. Ole Miss looks like they're building a consistent winner. Auburn, LSU, A&M clearly have that potential. Arkansas has had it in the past. Mississippi State's the one program that the coach there is going to have to build every year in 2 and 3 year periods with his players. I think Mullen's going to have Mississippi State back to a bowl game. I think they're going to do better than what people think they're going to do, but they lost a lot of talent. They have a lot of guys coming back, but the guys that are coming back aren't the talent from last year. So again, I'm a big fan of Dan Mullen. I think he's a great coach. I think he's going to be able to piece another bowl season together. But at a certain point, I think Mullen's going to get tired of doing this year in and year out. The 7-5 Belk Bowl, Independence Bowl. He's going to get tired of that. He's going to move to a better school where he's going to be able to build a consistently high-level program, which I don't think is really possible there in Starkville.